my name is Lauren Job and I just wanted to tell you a little bit about my life. See, I grew up in Sheffield, which is in Yorkshire. Whoop, whoop. I'm a proud Yorkshire lass. Is anyone else from Yorkshire? Amazing if you are. Great if you're not as well. And I grew up with a mum and a dad. My mum was quite poorly growing up. She was quite mentally unwell, and my dad was quite an angry and violent person. So he would beat my mum up, but he would also beat me up and lock me in a cupboard underneath the stairs. And when I was 7, my mum found out that this is what was happening, and they decided to get divorced. And when they got divorced, I thought, oh, my life is going to be so much better because dad's gone and mum will then get much better. But if anything, my mum got even more poorly and things at home were just really difficult. When I was 11, I met these youth leaders that were part of a youth group in a church. And I remember them inviting me to come along, and I was always a bit hesitant because I didn't really know what I thought about God. I thought, you know, God, if you're this loving God, then why is there so much bad things that happen in the world? And why don't you step in and change my situation? And why don't you make my mum better? And so I think I had a lot of questions, so I was a bit hesitant to go. But I decided one week, okay, fine, I'll go and check it out. And I was quite an angry and violent person when I was younger because I had all this anger stored up in me, all these things that had happened to me that I'd never spoken to anyone about. And so I would go to their youth group and I would beat up their people, and yet they would still keep loving me and accepting me for who I was. And I remember being like, there's something really odd about these guys. Like, what is it that's different? And I would go to their youth group and I would get drunk and I would take drugs and they didn't judge me. They just accepted me and they loved me for who I was, and that always really stuck out to me. And when I was 14, I went home one day and found that my mom had overdosed on so many tablets and she was unconscious. And so I got taken into foster care, and my brother and sister went to live with my other family members. And I remember that was such a difficult time in my life. It was so hard to be taken away from my mum and not being able to see her because she was put into this section hospital. And going to live with different people was just really hard. And I just felt quite overwhelmed by what was going on, and I'd stopped. You know, I didn't have to look after my mum and my brother and sister anymore at home. I could just be real. And that's when it all hit me that I was really struggling. And so I'd gone to this bridge, and I actually tried to commit suicide. I tried to jump off this bridge because I just felt I couldn't take life anymore. And it was like this gush of wind held me back when I went to jump off this bridge. It was really bizarre. And I remember thinking, but there's no wind, there's no one around, what's going on? And so because I was quite confused, I just thought, okay, I'll go home. And the next day, my youth leaders took me to this gig. And this guy who was in a band, LZ7, he said, there's someone here today that tried to commit suicide yesterday, but I'm here today to tell you that God has got a plan for your life. And in that moment, I remember being like, wow, how does he know that? I've not told anyone. There's no one that knew that that had happened to me. There's no one that knew that that's how I was feeling. God must be real. And I was filled with hope and love for the first time. See, I'd always been searching for this love, acceptance and value. You know, I'd slept around, I'd done drugs, I'd drank, I'd done everything to just try and feel loved. And the place that I found it was in Jesus. And I knew I had to give my life to Jesus. And so 10 years ago, I gave my life to Jesus, and it was the best decision of my life. He's completely transformed my life. It says in the Bible that God is our Father and that we are his children. That's crazy, right? I'd always wanted a family, and now I have this huge family in God, and it's amazing. And so I want to say to you today, if you are where I was, there is hope for you. Do not give up. The answer is Jesus. You will not find it in anything else. The answer is only Jesus. He loves you so much. Bye, guys.